How do you answer up? Chas v'shalom, somebody gets sick that you have a very big attachment to. Somebody loses his job that you have a big attachment to. So what do you go find him a job? What do you go look for a job for? What do you collect money for him for? The Baruch wanted the guy to lose his job.
Yeah, this is a big.
You should both have a l'chaim, you and the guy. And you should. Why are you saying till him for chas v'shalom? Somebody's that you're close with gets sick. What are you saying till him for?
No, because enochanami. So you're really supposed to daven. You're supposed to daven that whatever punishment that the guy got, whatever it is, that it should be over with, and Hashem should be moichel. Right? That you're davening that Hashem should be that it should, whatever punishment it was, Hashem should decide that that's enough and that's it. That's all he needs. That's the way I understand it. I mean, the question is better than the answer, right? But that's what you're davening
for. It's not my question, obviously.
No, it's a tough sugya. This sugya.
We said who's the Ramban, and another giant said that not supposed to go to a doctor, right?
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I hear. I don't that, but that's what I think it is. You daven to Hashem that He accepts that would be enough, and then you hope that it goes from there. Anyways, okay, so let's that's that. Obviously, there's more to that whole sugya. Yeah, but fine. Okay, so we're on the top of Pei Beis Amud Aleph, and we're talking about the sugya. We have a Machlokes, Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, whether. So we said, well, before the Machlokes, Reish Lakish and Yochanan, we said that there's a din. So there's something called bittul b'shishim, right? So something's batul b'shishim. So we said, but there's a few things that are not batul, that are considered too chashuv. One of them is davar sheb'minyan, meaning anything that gets sold by in the number, then that's considered chashuv, and it's never batul, even in 1,000. So just like chametz and pesach is never batul. So this is also never batul. So so Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lakish have a machlokes if something sometimes gets sold by the piece and sometimes it gets sold by weight. Do you consider that's not batul or not? Right? So I don't remember who says what. Oh, confuse it. 1 second. Right. So Reish Lakish holds that it has to be most of the time. It doesn't have to be all the time. And Rabbi Yochanan says it has to be always. In order for it not to be batul, it has to always be sold by the number. Then there was a braysa that said if you have a piece of chatas that's tameh. There were two. There was the reisha and the seif and the braysa. It's important for this next Amud to know the two cases. You have a piece of chatas that was tameh that got mixed in with 100 pieces of chatas that were tar. Right. So that's again they're both chatas. Just one is tameh and one is going to be tar. So it's just a matter if it's going to be no good, it's going to be puzzle to all the kehanim because it's all tumah. It's tumah. It's kachim that's tameh. If it's going to be mutter, it's going to be mutter to kehanim. So there we had a machlokes tanoim whether it's batul or not. Rabbi Yehuda said it's not batul, and we said the reason for that is because Rabbi Yehuda holds any of the same type is never meat to meat is never going to be batul according to Rabbi Yehuda, and the Tanna Kama hold it is batul. It is batul, but if it's a piece of chatas, regular kachim that falls into Chulin, into regular things that a Yisroel could eat, so now if the mixture is no good, then only Kahanim could eat it. If the mixture is good, then even Yisraelim could eat it. So, and the same thing with the lechem aponim that fell into regular bread. So there, everybody holds that it's not batul. Why? Because it's not such a big loss, right? Because so you could sell it to the Kahanim for a little cheaper, right? So then we said that it's talking about where it was nimucha. right? The case in the braysa is not talking about pieces. It's talking about where it got the piece was a little bit melted down. So therefore, it's not sellable. Fine. So now we're trying to look for the differences in between how Reish Lakish can understand the difference between the reisha and the sefer. So then the Gemara on the second line down, Naftali, we're just starting out. We just did the hakdama, right? So our teretz was that we're talking about where the meat melted down a little bit, right? So therefore, it's for sure batal according to all opinions, right? So then the Gemara says, but if it didn't melt down, what would be the din? Right, second line down. It's not going to be batal. Adatani. So then when the braysa says, Avachaticha shel chatas tahora shenis arba me'achaticha shel chulin tahora is loisala. Then when you have a piece of chatas that's tahor, that got mixed in with 100 pieces of chulin, the sefer, right? Why don't we just separate in that case and say that there's a limitation on that case, because there in that case we said everybody holds that it's not but, right? So why don't we just say but that's the only reason why it's not bottle is because it's melted down a little bit. But if it's not going to be nimucha, then it's not going to be bottle. Right? 1 second here. Right. So then it's not going to be bottle. So the one answers Tahor. So that meaning, why do you need to have two different cases? One of tameh falling into Tahor, right, and one of kachim tameh falling into kachim Tahor. Right, meaning the first case was kachim tameh falling into kachim tahor. The second case was kachim tahor falling into chulin. Why do you need that for? Why don't you just say the difference in the cases is whether it melts or it doesn't melt? Right. So when it says tayrus with tayrus otherly, no, the Gemara would rather talk about tyra falling into tahira. Why? Meaning because it's a bigger chiddush to say when they're both tahor, whether bittul is possible there or not, because in terumahs it's actually a Machlokes whether by Bisham Bishil whether Tahor can be bittul or not. So the Gemara would rather use Tahor. Fine. Well, Reish Lakish, and according to Reish Lakish, right, that we're talking about a melted piece of meat. Mishna reisha, mishna sefer. What's the difference in the reisha and the sefer? Right, meaning if it's melted down, so then they should both be bottle. Rav Ashi reisha betumah mashkin derabanan sefer v'deraisa. The reisha is talking about where it's a tumah derabanan. How Doilam remembers from Shabbos and all that. It's talking about where liquid became tameh through a kli. So therefore, that's really only a tumah derabanan. And so therefore, since it's a tumah derabanan, it's gonna be more makel. But a sefer where it's more machmer, it's talking about where your standard tumah deraisa. Something where it says about tumah sheretz mai. But let's say it became tameh from a sheretz. What would be the din? Loisala. It's not going to be bottle. So then the tani sefer. In the sefer, you learn of a chaticha shel chatas tahora. Same kash as before. A piece of chatas tahora. Shenis arav mea chaticha shel chulin. They got mixed in with 100 pieces of chulin tahoros. That the tar lois salad, it doesn't work. It's not bottle. Lift like the listening b'didah. Why don't we just say and differentiate in that case? Is b'medvar and murim b'tumas mashkin. That's all by tumas mashkin. How about tumas sheretz loy? But if it would be tumah sheretz, it will not be bottle, right? So the Gemara answers again, taharis with taharis other play. It would rather be talking about taharis with taharis. Yeah, fine. So that's one way of answering the difference in between the reisha and the sefer is talking about it's really nimucha. Both cases are nimucha, and we're saying that one is the reisha where we're more makel is talking about a derabanan. And Sefer is talking about the reisha. Rabah Amar, now okay. So now we can, if the Olam got in late or whatever, didn't understand that here's a new terrace. Right? So Rabah is saying, Pshat and Reish Lakish is reisha isser lav, Seifa is a chorus. The reisha is talking about that it's just a lav, right? So therefore, we're going to be more makel. Seifa is isur chorus. Since it's an isur chorus, when that falls into other mixtures, then it's going to be it's going to be harder to be makel, right? So when it says about Rabah who Amar kol deraisa loishna isur lav loishna isur chorus, we know that Rabah does not differentiate by isur deraisa whether it's an isur lav or isur chorus, right? So when we're dealing with isur deraisa, he doesn't care to start separating isur lav from isur chorus. So how could it be? How could he's differentiating here? So the Gemara says kasha, and it's a kasha. We haven't had that. That's our favorite teretz in Yevamos, that it leaves over the kasha, right? We haven't had it in a couple of weeks, I think. So, but yeah, this one's a kasha. Fine, that's a different teretz. Rav Ashi, I'm on a third teretz. Seifa mishum dahavile davar sheyesh li matirim. Oh, so the seifa is talking about something that could become Tahor eventually. So we know that the rule is something that could eventually become Tahor is not batal. Meaning, how come? What's the main reason why chametz is not batal? Right? If your chametz falls into food, you have a piece of chametz, it falls into 1,000 pieces of matzah, right? And you can't tell what it is. It's not batal on Pesach, right? Why? The main reason is because wait. Let's say it happened on the 5th day of Pesach. Wait 4 days, and then the whole thing will be mutter, right? Why should you eat it now with shilas of bittul? Just wait 4 days, and then you'll have it beheter.
What's that? Right? Isn't chametz shel Pesach?
Well, let's say it's a guy's chametz that fell into yours, right?
Okay.
Or if you sold all your chametz and it fell in anyway, so it was the guy's, right? It was the guy's chametz, right? So, right, it's called davar sheyesh l'matir, and anything that's a davar sheyesh l'matir is not batel. So the reason why that the seifa is more chomer, Rav Ashi is saying is because it's a davar sheyesh l'matir. Now the question is,
so why is it batel erev Pesach? Why don't you wait until after Pesach? Why is it batel erev Pesach?
What do you mean?
Chametz is batel erev Pesach, right?
And Shisha.
Yeah, right. So it's batel, no?
Because it's already batel before it's not Pesach yet, so it's batel.
But wait till after Pesach.
But it doesn't. You don't have to. It's already.
You
before
don't have. There's no
it's already.
problem.
It's not the Isser Chametz. It's
problem.
not the Isser Chametz yet. It's not the Isser Chametz. So anyway, so the Gemara says, "B'chol davar sheyesh l'matir, afilu be'elef loy batel." If it's a davar sheyesh l'matir, even 1,000 is not batel. Now the question here is, wait, where is it becoming davar sheyesh l'matir? Right. So the davar sheyesh l'matir in here is because it's going to possibly be mutter to kohanim, right? Let's say you're going to say again, the seif is talking about where it's tahor meat that's kachim that fell into chulin, right? So why should you be matir it to Yisroelim? You might as well allow it to kohanim. So why should it be batel? Right? That's what it's saying. It's a davar sheyesh l'matir right now. Give it to the kohanim. Right? Why should you start saying, oh, let's say it's batel, give it to Yisroel, just give it to the kohanim? Right? So then that's what the Gemara says. V'hadu Rav Ashi bedusi. What Rav Ashi said is it's a farce. It's not true. Because Laman, who are we going according to that it's going to be batel? Iluk meaning for who? Iluk kayin. If you say it's batel for the kayin, Mishra Shari, this whole thing was mutadim in the first place. There was no isser here for the kayin. What happened? Some kodshim fell into Chulin. That's not even a mixture to the kayin. It's mutter. Meaning it was never usher. Meaning davar sheyesh l'matir means it has to be something that's usher now that eventually will become mutter. For the kayin, it's not usher now. It was mutter the whole time. There was never a shaila for the kayin. And Eli Yisroel, and if we're going to say but it's for the Yisroel usher, that's very nice. But for the Yisroel, if you say the mixture is usher, then la'ilam usher, it's usher for Yisroel forever. Right? Meaning the Gemara is saying if you're saying kayin was never an issue in the first place, so it's not even considered a shaila of a mixture to him. And for the Yisroel, it's not mutter ever. So who exactly is the davar sheyesh l'matir for? So that's what the Gemara ends up. Rav Ashi bedusi. Yet Rav Ashi's it's a little different. Like how come here we're saying Rav Ashi's a mistake? Right? Why doesn't it just say kasha or tiyufta? I don't know the nuances of Gemara. Why the Gemara just doesn't leave off by saying tiyufta, right? So fine. Okay, so that's the end of that sugi. Now we're back to again the whole Machlokes of Yochanan and Rish Lakish is whether truma b'zman hazeh is a deraisa. We had said that Rabbi Yochanan said, right? Rabbi Yochanan had said that is truma b'zman hazeh even a deraisa. Rabbi Yochanan didn't care. Truma chazav v'shoy. Rabbi Yochanan holds that this androgynous is a vadai, a man, and therefore even deraisa he's allowed to eat. Right? That's what we had said. And Rish Lakish is mesupik. We say he's a man, but he's still doubtful, so he doesn't want to give him deraisas. Right? So we're saying, Rabbi Yochanan truma b'zman hazeh deraisa. Does Rabbi Yochanan really hold that truma b'zman hazeh is deraisa? But Tanya, yeah, we learned in a braysa. Now this is a famous Gemara in Shas, yeah, and we had it already. I think where did we have it? Right, Psachim, we had it. Yeah, shtei kupos. Yeah, there's two boxes of food. Achas shel chulin, achas shel truma. One has chulin in it, one has truma in it. For the fneim shtei sign, and in front of it there's two baskets. Yeah. Achas shel chulin, achas shel truma. One is chulin, one truma. So again, we have two boxes on the top shelf, one of chulin, one of truma. Two boxes on the bottom shelf, one of chulin, one of truma. And then what do you know? They fall into each other. V'naflu elu b'seich elu. One box, they both fall in. One box falls into the other box, and one box falls into the other box. Great, but we don't know which one is which. So theoretically, we can answer both, right? Because we could say that the chulin fell into the truma, and the truma fell into the chulin, and say both boxes are awesome. Or we could say, no, the truma fell into the truma, the chulin fell into the chulin, and hallelujah, everybody goes home happy. Right? So what's the din? They are mutter. Why? Because we say that we look at it as if the mutter fell into the mutter, and the asr fell into the asr. Or here it's not asr, the truma fell into the truma. Now again, it's a 50-50 toss-up. Here, we have no idea which one fell into which. It could be it's 100% no good, could be it's 100% good, right? And we're picking the lenient way. Why? Shani Aimer truma l'sar truma naflu, because I say the truma fell into the truma, but chulin b'sar chulin naflu, and the chulin fell into the chulin. V'amarish lakish for who sharabu chulin ala truma. But that's only if the chulin boxes had more food than the truma, meaning even if the chulin did fall into even if the truma fell into the chulin, there's still going to be more chulin than truma. So even if we were wrong, we're saying that the truma fell into the truma and the chulin fell into the chulin and gevaldik. And Rish Lakish is saying a chumrah. No, it needs to have a majority more chulin than truma. Like this, even if we're wrong, at least it'll be bottled. Right? That's Rish Lakish's chumrah. Even if there's no more chulin on truma, it's even if it's 50-50, it's still we're going to be makel. So must be Rabbi Yochanan holds that truma is derabanan, because if it's a deraisa, it's a suffix deraisa. What are you saying?
A suffix of 51 chulin and 49 truma. I could eat it.
Well, so the chayr it's something yavesh, so it's going to be batal b'roiv.
Okay.
So that'll be but at least me'ikar adin bitul b'roiv works. Certainly on a suffix, it's saying that it's going to work. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're saying what Rabbi Yochanan doesn't care about it having a roiv. So that must mean that Rabbi Yochanan holds that that truma is the derabanan, because otherwise it's suffix deraisa. Right. So we see clearly that according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's derabanan. So Gemara answers. Okay, I just said the Gemara. Bishlam the Reish Lakish, because I didn't read that last night. We're on the bottom, Gershon, on the bottom of Pei Beis Amud Aleph, the third line up. So Bishlam the Reish Lakish, because the Rabbanan Nami Ribu Yehuda Ve'inan. Reish Lakish, who we said was saying Truma is the Rabbanan. So he holds that you need a majority for the Rabbanan too, right? El Rabbi Yochanan kasha. So, but Rabbi Yochanan holds that it's a kasha. So meaning Rabbi Yochanan L'chayr would say that it has to say it's a derabanan, otherwise it's a subject that rises. And when our answer is how many rabbanan he? No, this braysa is going according to rabbanan. That truma is the rabbanan, right? How do we know? On Amud Beis now. Va'ana, he says Va'ana the Amri Remeir, but I hold like Remeir that truma nowadays is a deraisa. I'm sorry, Rabbi Yosef. I'm sorry, thank you, Rabbi Yosef. I don't know why did I say Remeir. I don't know, right? Va'ana Amri Rabbi Yosef. I say that it's going like Rabbi Yosef. What's Rabbi Yosef say? The Tanya b'seder oilam, because it says in seder oilam, right? Which is brayses that talk about the beginning of the world, the history brayses. It says Asher Yarshu Avesecha v'Yerishka. So it says that the Yarshu here doesn't mean that they inherited, right? It means here that they had to have conquered it, because they didn't inherit it. They had to go into Eretz Yisrael and conquer Eretz Yisrael in the days of Yeshua, right? Yerusha Rishayna, B'Shniya Yesh Lehen. There's two Yerushas. There's the Yerusha Rishayna, which is by Yeshua's times, and then there's the Yerusha Shniya. That's after Golus Bavel, right, by Ezra. Yeah, which we had it today in the Chinuch. We had in the Sefer Chinuch Tikkun Takonis Ezra, right? So Yerusha Rishayna B'Shniya Yesh Lehen. Ushlishis ain't land, but the third, the Ezra Hashem, the one that's coming, hopefully soon, right? The third time we're going to go back to Eretz Yisrael, you don't have that. Yeah, meaning why? Because kedusha shniya is staying. The kedusha, according to Rav Yosef, according to the Seder Olam, the kedusha that they gained when they went back up to Eretz Yisrael by the times of Ezra, the kedusha remains and remains even now, and therefore truma's deraisa. Right. So that's why. That's what it's saying. The kedusha, we don't need the third kedusha. The other ones hold that this right now it's the derabanan, and we're going to get back to kedusha later on. Man Tana Seder Olam. Who is the Tana who wrote Seder Olam? That's Rav Yosef. So it's Rav Yosef who holds that it's the braysa. But the braysa that says the two boxes falling into the two boxes, that is going according to the shita that holds, that disagrees with Rav Yosef, and holds that the second kedusha of Eretz Yisrael from the days of Ezra is not going to be a kedusha forever. Yeah, fine. So then the Gemara asks on a different angle. Does Rabbi Yochanan hold? He doesn't hold that you need a ribuy, meaning you still need a majority. When we have a safek derabanan, something falls into the other. Do you not need at least some majority, right? You need a roiv. But we learned in the Mishnah, right? So Mikva, we know a Mikva needs arba'im sa, right? It needs to have at least arba'im sa, mechubenes sa. Meaning you need 40 sa in a Mikva. If it gets once you have 40 sa in a Mikva, really we need a Yoikavik for this. But once you have 40 sa in a Mikva, so then you can drop in more mayim shuvin and fruit juice and whatever it is that you want, as long as your 40 sa, as long as your 40 sa is there, then you're okay. Right? But what happens if you have a mikvah sheyesh ba'arba'im sa mechubenes, exactly 40 sa, nosan sa, and then you put in a sa of liquids that would passel a mikvah normally, but it's going to be okay because you already have your base 40 sa, and then notal sa, right? It's also a famous case. Nosan sa and notal sa, meaning you put in a sa and then you pulled out a sa. Kosher, the mikvah is kosher. Now you have to say that it has to be that some of the mikvah water is coming out, right? You have mikvah 40 sa, a guy drops in a Dr. Pepper, right? Then he pulls, Dr. Pepper fell in the mikvah, let's pull it out. So he takes out a sa. That sa is not going to be exclusively Dr. Pepper. I mean, it's going to also have some mikvah water. Now, how come now you have less than 40 sa of mikvah water, right? So it should be kosher. So maybe it's possible. The Gemara says no. Right? The Mishnah says it's going to be kosher. It's kosher until you take out up to 20 sa. If you up to 20 sa, you could take out, but after that you can't. My love, the nishtaya rubai. He must mean that you need to have at least a roiv of the mikvah water still in there. Right now, this is all derabanan because mayim shuvin is a derabanan. We discussed that today in Sefer Chinuch also. Mayim shuvin is the derabanan, meaning normally, according to halacha, you can fill up a hole in the ground with water from the sink, and that's kosher according to the Torah. In the derabanan, it's not. So this is the derabanan here, and we see that you still need a majority. So what's Rabbi Yochanan going to do with this Mishnah? So the Gemara says, no, that's not the issue. The loy nishka rubai. It's talking about where you didn't take roiv, right? It means that if even up to 50-50, it's going to be okay. Not that there needs to be a roiv. 50-50 is okay. Fiba is saying, or another difference, shani hacha, right? Here is different, meaning the case of the box of Chulin and terumah falling into a box of Chulin and terumah, shani oimer, because we can say shani oimer. We have the option to say, I could say that the Chulin box fell into the Chulin, and the terumah box fell into the terumah. Right? But by the mikvah, you can't say that. By the mikvah, it has to be that you're pulling out mikvah water. Meaning by the Chulin case, the case of Chulin and terumah, you have a box of Chulin and a box of terumah, falls into a box of terumah and a box of Chulin, right? It's very possible, it's a 50-50 chance that one fell into one fell into the other, and we're great, right? But by the mikvah, you can't say, there's no chance that you're pulling out just the saw of Dr. Pepper. It's impossible. You have to be taking out mikvah water. So there we know that there's definitely not 40 saw, so we need to have at least a majority. On a suffix, we need to at least have a majority.
I'm sorry. When does the Dr. Pepper get bottled to the mikvah?
Right, instantly.
So then you have 40 saw, no?
You do, but the
you had 40, now you had 41 with the Dr. Pepper. So you take out a saw, you still have 40. What?
Correct, but you know for sure you don't have, right, that's pshat, you're right, that's what a mikvah is kosher. But you know for sure you don't have 40 saw of rainwater. That's
I don't care. I don't care anymore. So
you're right. But then the Gemara is saying, but lemaisa, it's since it's a suffix, you want it at least to be a bittul b'roiv. Right? You want it to at least be a bittul b'roiv. Okay, I don't. That's what you have to say. That's what we're saying by the derabanan. You want it at least, since we're still not sure, you still want at least to have a majority. But so there you know for sure that it's not, you know, you're mattering the mikvah, but you know for sure it's not 40 saw of rainwater. Yeah, okay, it's very logish of things.
I don't
and
care.
And you bad to me, you don't care. Correct. Yeah, but still, lemaisa to I guess to calm our nerves with the suffix, you still want a majority. I guess that's what you have to say is pshat. Okay, now back to androgynous. Tran. So the Mishnah said, if we remember what the Mishnah says.
That's one of the problems being a tzaddik. If you're never not a tzaddik, you're not worried about
it. That's only if bad things happen to you, or good things, actually. Sorry, good things happen to you. Bad things, you means you could be a tzaddik. Yeah. So Tanan, so we learned in the Mishnah, androgynous noise. And androgynous, right? So we said androgynous has male and female anatomy. He has both. So we said, so can he marry a man or can he marry a woman? What does he do? So the Mishnah says he's allowed to marry a lady. Right? Now, again.
Didn't we say before he has a din of a zachar?
Yeah. So we're saying the Mishnah clearly says he has a din of a zachar. So Reish Lakish says it's a suffix. It's a Machlokes Reish Lakish on the Mishnah if it's a suffix or a vada. Right? So the Mishnah, we're bringing a raya from the Mishnah. It's got to be a vada. Right? He says he can marry a lady. So clearly, you're looking at him like a zachar. So what is Reish Lakish going to do with that? What's Reish Lakish going to do with that? So Reish Lakish says Tani im nasa, not noisei. If he married a woman, then b'diavad we're going to allow it, but we're certainly not going to allow it lechatchila. Right?
We're not going to allow lechatchila him to marry a woman.
That's why your internet is bad. Well, you in Lakewood or something?
Yeah.
Lakewood is a holy city. There's no good internet over there. No good internet there. Yeah. He's saying if they get married.
I'm glad you're messed up, man. You're totally messed up, and it's really funny.
Meaning, we say that if they got married, it's considered a marriage enough that they need a get, right? It's considered a marriage enough that they need a get. Meaning, we don't just say the marriage is batel. That's all. That's the way Reish Lakish is learning the Mishnah. It's a marriage enough to require a get, but they're not allowed to stay married. But so the Gemara asks obvious question about noise ketani. It's very nice you want to say if he got married, but it says noise he could marry, so it sounds like lechatchila. My answer is with a tameich my avaloy nise. Right? But then what does the Mishnah mean? But he can't be taken in marriage by a man, right? How do you understand that, right? But he can't marry a man, he, she, whatever. The androgynous can't marry a man. How do you understand that? Elamai nisa, what must it mean? Right? It must mean diavad, right? Even if a man married, right? He cannot, it's not a marriage. So meaning, and all it is he's being honest. So then noisa nami diavad. So noisa in the reisha also means that if they got married, it's considered a get. It's considered a marriage that they need a get. So then I want to answer. It asks a different question. Amri loy. No, that's not true. Noisa lechatchila masha. The word noisa means the androgynous is allowed to marry a lady. Avaloy nisa diavad nami loy, and loy nisa, but he cannot be married by a man. The androgynous cannot be married by a man. Meaning not the Masada Kedushin. A man can't marry him, her, right? Is even b'di'evet, right? Even b'di'evet, it doesn't work. Right? So that's what it would say, right? V'amid the Katani, Seifa, and if this that we learned in the Seifa, Rabbi Eliezer Oimer, androgynous, chayav in Allah skila kizachar, that an androgynous, you're chayiv skila, just the same way you're chayiv skila with the zachar, mechlal the Tanakama svukim esavkale, right? It must be that the Tanakama is so, meaning what's the end of the Mishnah? Rabbi Eliezer says an androgynous you're chayiv skila like a zachar, right? Meaning if a zachar is mezana with an androgynous, right? So you say what kind of, if a zachar, we're saying a zachar is not allowed to marry the androgynous, right? So now the zachar, is the androgynous a nekeva or a zachar? If she's a nekeva, so okay, so it's a two single people messing around. But if you say that it's a zachar, then it's actually mishkav zachar, right? You hear the complication that we have here. If a zachar sleeps with an androgynous, then he is considered like, according to Rabbi Eliezer, he's chayiv skila like a mishkav zachar, right? That means that the Tanakama is masubik about it. So how can you say that?
I don't understand. It's regular tashmish.
Oh, very good, Peretz. You mechamed to the Gemara's next kasha. You on headphones? Okay, you mechamed to the Gemara's next kasha. It'll get clear in a second, right? So anyway, so the Gemara, that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara answers: Bein lamar, mifsha pshitale. Both of them hold that it's pashut that a man is, the androgynous is considered a man, right? And that's why if another man is mezana with an androgynous, he's chayiv skila like mishav zachar. But ikum and I, what's the difference between the two shitas, meaning between the Tanakama and Rabbi Eliezer? Skila mishnei makomis is whether he's chayiv skila from which opening, right? An androgynous has two openings. He has the female and he has the regular male where he goes to the bathroom from, right? So which one is going on? Meaning, so this zachar that's sleeping with the androgynous, in which opening is he going, right? One holds he's chayiv skila, even if he goes and he's mezana with him, her, whatever, even if he's mezana with the androgynous in the regular noshim opening, still that's considered mishkav zachar because we look at him like he's a zachar, right? Umar Savar, Umar wants to Umar Savar. The other she goes, no, kiz zachar. Only if he sleeps with him like a zachar is he chayiv skila. But if he sleeps with him like he's a nekeva, then he's not going to be chayiv skila. Right, so that comes out a big nafkamina, a strange nafkamina, but it's a strange nafkamina according to the Tanakh. I don't know. I ain't going, Zev. Sorry.
It was definitely not going to work. Getting closer to the mic is not going to help you, Ribza.
I was going to say that.
Sorry, it's not. Your internet is schwach.
Maybe just talk faster.
Or post it. Type it and post it on the chat. Can you do that? Anyways, so
is that what I used to sound like?
He doesn't want to be held responsible for writing something.
I hear that. Did he just? Yeah. Anyway, so that's the nafkamina between the first case and the second case. The first mandoma and the second mandoma, right? So when Rebbe Elazar says Yechayev skila, he's only chayev skila if he's mazana with him like a mishkav zachar. But if he's mazana with the androgynous like a nekeva, it's no problem according to Rebbe Elazar. According to the Tanakama, he's mamish a male, full-fledged male, and either way, the male is mezana with androgynous, it's considered mishkav zachar, and therefore it's no good. Fine. Okay, we'll stop over here. I don't know where they probably went into the third period already, but okay.
Sure, call you.
All right.
Fine. I think it's 5-2 anyway. So.
Yeah. All right. Good talk.
Where do we start from tonight?
We start on the second line down on Tzadi Beis Amud Aleph.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Eretz.
Yes, sir.
The shear's over, so I'll tell you something about the ranges. Otherwise, I'm on side.
Yeah.
No, so in Mamish.
Did you say tzaddik? We started pay base, no?
I said pay base. What did I say? Tzadi Beis or pay base?
Yeah, you said tzaddik by mistake. It's pay base.
Okay. I read Rav Yosef as Rav Meir tonight, so I'm saying it's like yeah.
So parents way back, we were Bachrim, so that we used to go to the Davidowitz's house a lot. They had 4 daughters, So anyway, we were watching. There was a Ranger game. They had to win. It was the last game of the season. They had to win by X amount of goals. It was to get into play. So they played without a goalie for half. Once they were sure they were going to win, they played without a goalie for half of the third period. The only time they had a goalie because the face off at their end. Otherwise, they played 6-on-5 for 10 minutes.
Because they kept it out.
First of all,
they scored a few goals that way, but they still didn't get into the playoffs.
I put 250 miles on the car now.